Police found her footprints that night. Clean, clear, in soft dirt, the kind of prints you could measure a shoe size from. They followed them across an empty Montana field for almost half a mile. Then the footprints just stopped. No car, no struggle, no second set of tracks joining hers. Just prints in the dirt, walking forward, and then nothing, like she'd been lifted straight up off the ground. That was April 20th, 1989. Patricia Meehan has not been seen since. Unsolved states. Episode Montana. Before any of this, Patricia Meehan was just a woman trying to figure out what she wanted from her life. She grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Everyone who knew her called her Patty. She was small, 5'3", blonde, freckled, with a voice so soft that people described it as almost a whisper. She went to college in Oklahoma City to study early childhood development. She was on track to work with kids. Then in 1985, she walked away from all of it. She moved to Bozeman, Montana, and took a job as a ranch hand. Her family said it came down to one simple thing. She loved horses. She wasn't chasing money or a career. She wanted to be outside, around animals, in a state where the sky is bigger than anywhere else in the country. By the spring of 1989, though, something had shifted. Her landlord, the last person who saw her before that night, said she'd seemed unusually keyed up. Hyper was the word he used, not herself. On April 19th, the day before she vanished, Patricia called her father back in Pittsburgh. She told him she was stressed. She told him she wanted to come home. Her mother later said Patricia had been dealing with depression and that she'd already booked an appointment with a psychologist for the morning of April 21st. Her parents had agreed. Once she'd been to that appointment, she could move back home to Pennsylvania. That appointment was less than 24 hours away when she disappeared. On the evening of April 20th, 1989, Patricia was driving northwest on Highway 200 near a small town called Circle in the emptiest stretch of eastern Montana, nearly 400 miles from her home in Bozeman. Nobody, not her family, not the police, has ever explained what she was doing out there. At around 8:15 that night, a woman named Peggy Bueller was driving west on that same highway with her father. Coming toward them in their lane was Patricia's car. Bueller swerved onto the shoulder and missed it. But the car behind her, driven by an off-duty police dispatcher named Carol Heights, took the hit head-on. Heights climbed out of the wreckage. She wasn't badly hurt. And then a blonde woman walked up to her on the road, stood close, and just stared. Heights said it was like being looked through, not at. The woman never said a word. Bueller, still on the shoulder, watched what happened next. The same woman climbed over a roadside fence into the field beyond it and just stood there, watching the crash site from a distance. Not screaming, not asking for help. According to Bueller, it was like watching a spectator, someone observing an accident that had happened to somebody else, not to her. Then she turned and walked into the dark field and was gone. Bueller drove into town to call for help. Within half an hour, police ran the plate on the abandoned car. It came back to a 37-year-old woman named Patricia Meehan. When officers reached the scene, she was already gone. Police searched the field that night and found a single set of shoe prints, beginning about 3/4 of a mile from the crash. Small prints consistent with Patricia's size. They followed that trail for hours, out into the open country until 3 in the morning. And then the trail just ended. Not at a road, not at a building. In the middle of open Montana terrain, the prints stopped, and there was nothing more to follow. The search was called off until daylight. When Patricia's family arrived from Pennsylvania, they distributed more than 2,000 missing person flyers across the region. Her brother came in from Florida. Her sister came from the Pacific Northwest. Volunteers searched the surrounding hills on horseback and on ATVs. The family paid for a helicopter to sweep the terrain. Search teams even checked abandoned coal mines nearby. They found absolutely nothing. Investigators floated two early theories. One, Patricia had suffered a head injury in the crash and was wandering with amnesia. Two, she'd hitched a ride, maybe on a hay truck parked half a mile down the road, though no one ever came forward to confirm giving her a ride. Among her belongings, her family developed a roll of film from her camera. On it was a single self-portrait, Patricia, alone, photographed in a mirror, taken sometime before that night. Nobody has ever agreed on what that photo means. What happened after April 20th, 1989, is where this case stops looking like a missing person report and starts looking like something else entirely. Because Patricia Meehan did not just vanish. She was allegedly seen. Again, and again, and again. 2 weeks after she disappeared, a police officer in Luverne, Minnesota, reported seeing a woman matching her description sitting alone in a Hardee's, drinking water, for over 5 hours until the restaurant closed. When he approached her, she wouldn't give a name. First she said she was from Colorado. Then she said Israel. The next day, 2 more sightings came in. One at a truck stop diner in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where a waitress said the woman sat drinking coffee from midnight until 11:30 the next morning. Another in Murdo, South Dakota, where a woman matching her was seen with an unidentified man in his 30s. 11 days later, a truck driver reported seeing her walking a frontage road outside Billings, Montana. The following week, a waitress at a restaurant near Patricia's own home in Bozeman said she served her breakfast, that the woman ate in a hurry and mentioned she had to go shopping at 9 that morning. A second waitress, working the same shift, said the woman seemed disoriented, talking to herself. That same week, someone reported seeing her at a horse auction in Billings. A horse auction. The one detail that, if true, would have made sense. Patricia loved horses more than almost anything. By the end of May, she'd allegedly been spotted along Interstate 90 in Washington state. A truck driver offered her a ride. She said no and told another passing driver her car had broken down and she needed a phone. Days later, a dock worker in Tacoma said he saw a woman matching her description, asking directions to Aberdeen. Law enforcement had a theory for why she might be out there. Her sister lived in Seattle. Her ex-boyfriend lived in Spokane. If Patricia was alive and moving with purpose, that corner of the country made a strange kind of sense. By June 1989, barely 6 weeks after she disappeared, police had logged more than 25 sightings. 3 were confirmed as credible by investigators. None of them led anywhere. Word of her disappearance spread the same way, pinned to corkboards in truck stops and diners across 3 states. Over a year later, in August 1990, police in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, arrested a transient woman for littering. She looked enough like Patricia that the arresting officer genuinely believed, for a moment, that the case was over. In court, the woman told the judge she was a missionary, traveling back and forth between Montana and Washington. The story made front-page news in the Seattle Times. Is she or isn't she Patricia Meehan? Patricia's ex-boyfriend, Kurt Fletcher, told reporters the resemblance was strong. Even the voice, he said, sounded right. Then investigators ran her fingerprints. She wasn't Patricia. That was, and still is, the closest anyone has ever come to finding her. Patricia Meehan's case is still open with the Macomb County Sheriff's Office in Montana. Officially, she is classified as an endangered missing person. Over the 37 years since she disappeared, more than 5,000 alleged sightings have been logged. Across nearly every state in the country, including Alaska and Hawaii. Not one has ever been confirmed. Investigators have never ruled out amnesia from the crash. They've never ruled out a voluntary disappearance, a woman choosing, deliberately, to walk away from her own life. And they have never been able to rule out the darker possibility that whatever was happening to Patricia in the weeks before that crash, the stress, the sleeplessness, the urgency in that last phone call to her father ended somewhere out in that field, and she never got up. No body has ever been found. No confirmed sighting has ever surfaced. The footprints that once led searchers 3/4 of a mile into the dark still end exactly where they always did, in the middle of nowhere, for no reason anyone has ever been able to explain. If you have any information about Patricia Bernadette Meehan, the Macomb County Sheriff's Office in Montana is still taking tips today, 37 years later. Patricia Meehan was a quiet woman who moved across the country for a love of horses and open sky. Whatever happened to her in that field in 1989, she deserved better than to become 5,000 unconfirmed rumors in 50 states. If this is the first case you've seen from us, we cover one unsolved case per state, 50 states, thousands of unanswered questions. Subscribe if you want to follow along. And if you were the one standing on that highway that night, watching a stranger climb a fence and disappear into an empty field, would you have followed her over that rail?